Hello everybody, Terrence Pop here with another episode of Live from the Lair. Alright, I'm changing things up a little bit, gentlemen. This next subject, I received somewhere between 60 and 70 requests to cover this new coronavirus bullshit that's going on. Because, you know, I'm kind of big on math. And there's a lot of unknowns going on here. And the big media doesn't seem to be touching it. Now, what I've done here is an absolute worst case of the worst case scenarios. All right, since we don't have the variables to fill in for X. And over here, you'll see the graph is basically a standard death to age graph that's used in all of the infectious diseases that are fatal. Okay, so over here, I have basically one sick person times 6 to the 14th power. All right, now, why do I use those numbers? Well, 1 equals the infected individual. Times 6, those are the individuals that he can infect that are basically in his sphere of influence. Mother, father, siblings, friend or friends, children, wife / girlfriend, or both, if you have that going on. All right, now, like I said, it's the worst of the worst case scenario. Everyone on that list gets infected 100% of the time. And you are infectious the moment you are infected with the virus, since we really don't know a lot of the fucking variables here. Now, if you do 6 to the 14th power, and 14 basically stands 6 people per day times 14, which is 2 weeks, which they say it takes before symptoms come out. One individual, hypothetically, in this worst case scenarios, can infect up to 78 billion people. That's with a B. All right. Now, if you take and look at some of the shit that's going on in China, in the so-called province, there are 2 formal hospitals going up right now to treat the infected. And each one is supposed to have somewhere between 1,100 hospital beds, which in Chinese math is like 2,000 hospital beds, because they stack them like cordwood and they'll put up bunk beds and shit. I'm just saying. The rumor is they're doing the same thing in some of the other big cities in and around China to prepare for this, since they are basically, for the most part, unprepared. Now, like I said, there's a lot of shit going on here that we are not getting, either from China or from the mainstream media. And I'm going to go down the list in red here. Okay, first of all, how long are you infectious? If you are infected. How soon after exposure are you infectious? The rumor is people are infectious while they're asymptomatic, which is any time between infection and day 14. So we probably need to know, does it take 48 hours, 72 hours? We need to know. All right, now we need to know the actual death rate, and the way you can calculate that is by how many people are fucking infected. They're not going to tell us. Well, there's some variables. We can't do the proper math. All right. Now we have to find out, of the people who are infected, what is the serious illness rate and what age groups are affected the worst. My guess is 0 to 4 years old and 55 and beyond are the ones that are going to get hit the worst, because those are the ones that have the weakest immune systems, and that's just the way nature is. You know, the young get it because they're not strong enough. Their immune systems aren't up to 100%, and the old get it because, you know, shit doesn't heal right when you're older and things stop working. what are you going to do? And there's pretty much no pill you can take to, get that up, I'm just saying. All right, now, at what point is this beyond containment? All right, so we all know it started in that province in China, and there's, other infections in other cities around that city. There's been a few in China, Thailand, Cambodia. Last I saw was California and Chicago. All right, now if these people are infectious for 2 fucking weeks, we really don't know how many people have flown back from China and have been mingling in the general population, transmitting this fucking virus to people. All right, the only one that knows those numbers is basically Department of Homeland Security, since they know everyone who comes and goes out of the country. And I'm sure they handed that information over to the CDC, and the CDC's making phone calls. At least that should have happened, I don't know, last week, if not today. All right, and this is, I'm seeing this is going fucking south real fucking quick. All right, let's see. We didn't know what is being done to contain this, because we really haven't got any solid concrete plans on what our governments are doing. Here's another one here. The actual infectious rate. So how many people out of 100 who are exposed to this are actually going to come down with the actual virus? All right, they can tell all that shit out if they gave us the fucking numbers. Now, if you have these numbers, you can project into the future exactly what the death rate is, what the serious illness rate is, and then if you have those 2 things, you can, build your, primary, alternate, contingency and emergency plans. But hey, that's just the military civil affairs guy in me speaking here. All right, now, you guys are like, hey, Pop, what can we fucking do to keep from fucking kicking our fucking meat suits and protecting our loved ones? All right. Number 1, isolation. You can't get infected, especially from airborne particles. That's what they say it is. If you're not around anyone who is infected, that's the number 1 best way right there. Number 2, mask the fuck up. All right? And I'm not talking about one of those paper masks. Go down to the fucking hardware store and get one of those filtration dust masks with the cartridges and probably some fucking goggles. And or you could just, go to the hardware store and buy an NBC mask, because that will work just fine. Get friendly with hand sanitizer, because a lot of people will transmit the viral load from their hand to their face, and then from there it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to your lungs, which, by the way, this particular virus needs to get direct access to your lung tissue so it can grab on. All right. Another one, gloves. If you're going to be out in public, wear fucking gloves. You can buy a whole bunch of rubber gloves at the hardware store, and you could probably change them out 2 or 3 times a day as your hands get sweaty. And if you're allergic to latex, they have non-latex gloves that cost anywhere from $3 to $12, depending on how many you want. All right. Number 5, load up on vitamin C. My personal recommendation is to take 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, 500 milligrams every 4 to 6 hours, because your body will only absorb up to 500 milligrams at a time. All right. Number 6, prep a sick room. If you have a family member who comes down with an illness, have a room set aside where they will be contained, and then work up your glove, hand sanitizer, mask, routine so you can go in there and take care of your loved one without yourself being infected. All right. Number 7, if this goes south and it turns into a royal fucking clusterfuck, you are going to have panic, which is just as, well, I shouldn't say just as, we don't know the variables, but it has the possibility of being just as dangerous as the disease, depending upon the infection rate. So you need to stock up on food, water, and here in America, guns and ammo. Because when food and water run scarce, and you have it, people want to come and get it from you. And the thing that stops that is a maximum effective range and a cyclic rate of fire. Sorry, but guns curb greed. Number 8, if you have to work in public, limit your exposure to the individuals you interact with. And if you do, have a masking glove and hand sanitizer protocol in effect. All right? Number 9, if you can, stock up on medical supplies. All right? Now, it's going to sound, I know this is a virus. Viruses don't really respond to antibiotics. But guess what? If you're infected with a virus, your immune system is going to get zapped, which means it's open to other infections. So guess what? You can go and pick up antibiotics that are for fish or fish ponds. It's all the same shit. It all works the same. I mean, literally, most of the time it's in the same capsule as the ones that are prescribed to human beings. And you can get tetracycline, amoxicillin, Keflex, the list goes on and on. To include clindamycin, which is, very, very top tier antibiotic at this time. All right, now, another thing that is really important that will take a little time to come up with, and it's really not on this list in red, but it should be, and that is mutations. Now, this particular virus jumped from an animal to the humans. All right. Now, once it's in the humans, it's gonna mutate. It's gonna change. Now, it could change a couple. It could change a couple of clicks to the right, and fire for effect, and even become even more deadly. Or it could click to the left, and it becomes less infectious and less deadly to human beings. All right, now there is no vaccine for this as of yet, and I believe they have never developed a vaccine for the common cold, and I do not know if antiviral drugs will work on this particular strain. Again, those are all questions that need to be answered by the CDC. All right, now hopefully this has been interactive and you guys understand what the fuck I'm saying. Again, this is the worst of the worst case scenario. You cannot go wrong if you follow the steps on the green and keep your eyes open for the questions in red. Because a lot of the stuff that comes out in the red will determine the priority of what you do here in the green. All right? And what you do here in the green will keep you and your loved ones from winding up in the black or the dirt. What are you going to do? All right, gentlemen, I'm going to get a better tripod and camera for this. Hopefully the sound is working out good. This is the first time I've done this. And these are the new whiteboards in the lair. And I have actually a bigger set to the other side that I want to start using. Gentlemen, leave your comments below. And if you like the whiteboards and you want to see more whiteboard antics, please let me know. All right? With that being said, I'm going to log out here. Take it easy. All right, everybody, Terrence Pop here with another episode live from the lair. And today I received an email from an individual who pulled up a PDF study that was published on the situation that's taking place in China, the stuff that's causing it. Now, I was also warned that there is a hell of a lot of censoring going on out there. So we're going to talk around the subject using the beer scale and a little comedic relief. So if anyone gets offended by this, you might as well turn it off right now, because I'm not fucking around and I don't care. All right, here we go. We have the beer situation in China. They have a C beer. And we need to know if C beer was created or not. And, most of the, stuff rolling around out there in the big world is made by Mother Nature. But since we now have cutting edge technology, we are more than capable of engineering our own demise to the last individual. Of course, what I mean by demise is getting bombed on beer. All right, now, I am not a molecular biologist. I am just an old infantry grunt. And I am going to dumb this down to the 12th grade level so all my hooas out there will understand what's going on. All right. Now, this particular beer, there are 7 brands. All right. You got the 229 Echo, the COV, the November Lima 63, Oscar Charlie 43, and the Hotel Kilo Victor 1. Now, these are beers that typically human beings get. They buy them at the store. All right, now the other ones down here is the SAR beer and the MER beer, and those are pretty much for animals, though from time to time, they jump across and bomb a lot of human beings because they're not used to the animal beer, and they have like some really wretched, side effects. Just saying. All right. Now we're going to ask ourselves some questions. All right. We now have the ability to sequence completely amino acids, DNA, RNA, down to the molecule. And we've been doing it now 45, 50 years. In the past 10 years, they've gotten really good at it. So we have a map of pretty much what's floating around out there that'll cause a lot of people to get bombed. That's funny. All right. Now, the entire Earth has studied another type of beer, and I call it the Hipple-Hiv. All right. Now, this one has been studied by virtually every country around the globe in nauseam for the past 40 years. So they can come up with countermeasures and a way to minimize the amount of people who get bombed out on it. All right. Just saying. All right. Here we go. Now, we are all just a bunch of hairless monkeys, and we are really good at taking something and making it better, but not in a good way, if you know what I mean. All right, so I was reading through this particular paper. I'm not going to go through all of the big multi-syllable words and all the crazy shit that was going on when they were writing this, because you're just not going to get it anyway. So what they noticed about this new beer that's out there is it has several features which are very, very close to the Hipple-Hiv. All right, now the Hipple-Hiv has historically been one of Mother Nature's most favorite beers to bomb as many people as she possibly can, because the Hipple-Hiv beer has three things that make it so effective. It has the ability to cloak itself. It has the ability to bind to other parts of the anatomy. And it has the ability to inject its RNA into the host DNA, which causes a huge air addiction runaway thing, if you know what I'm saying. All right, so we have the three things here on the Hipple-Hiv beer, and they're showing up on the C beer in China. Now, is that a coincidence? Well, I am not one to make that judgment. Like I said, I am not a nuclear biologist or molecular biologist or whatever the hell they call it. But I find it very bizarre. Okay, especially when SAR beer has a historic rate of 10 to 20% bomb rate, but it didn't really take off much because, really wasn't popular and it didn't stick, if you know what I mean. So perhaps maybe one of the evil hairless monkeys out there, now this is evil pop thinking here, basically took the recipe for the Hipple-Hiv and took the hops out of it to give it the three things that make it so popular in Mother Nature. And since we have the technology, graft these three things into the new recipe for the C beer in China, which is causing it to be much more effective in getting people, hooked on it and hopefully not bombed down the road. But with the numbers as the numbers are and people not really talking about the hard data, really can't make those predictions. Now, I know a lot of you guys are like, hey, Pop, what the hell, yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm going to explain it to you with a picture. All right, here you have the old SAR beer with its, the way it looked and the way it was designed. It was very effective, but it only really had a 10 to 20% bomb rate. So you take the hops from the Hipple-Hiv and you attach them to the outside so they inject into, the normal individual down there. These hooks actually have it hold on better. And before you know it, you can have something here that is, extremely popular and can cause a very high bombed out rate, if you know what I mean. Now, am I saying this happened? I don't know. But there are some strange coincidences that we have to talk about. For instance, said beer seemed to come into the original market at a wet market in China, which is within 20 miles of a P4 lab, which is basically the highest level of security for a brewery that makes crazy different types of beer that can exist. I'm just saying what's going on. All right, and it just so happens that for whatever reason, this keeps happening in China. Maybe it has something to do with their unsanitary wet markets and selling all kinds of crazy, unregulated food that is probably crazy, unsanitary, and other unknown animals that may or may not have their own different strands of beer within them and could cause all kinds of bomb out rates in the future. But that's just me talking here. All right. A lot of you guys are asking, like, oh, Pop, how did this happen? How do they make all this crazy beer and, either by accident or on purpose? Well, let's address that. All right. First of all, to brew up this type of beer requires extensive investment and resources to even come anywhere near making this possible if it was done and made by humans and not by nature. I'm just saying. All right, the improved SAR beer with the Hipple hops in it, first you gotta make it, all right? Then you gotta test it in a dish. And if it looks good, then to make sure it's effective and, it's popular, it catches on, and it maybe you want it to have the desired bomb out rate, you gotta, test it, on animals, because, that's the way it works, and it just goes up the list. All right, now this is where shit goes crazy, literally, because said animals, well, they produce waste. And said beer is probably in the waste, which I'm sure that they probably didn't really follow protocol, and it makes it into the environment, and now we all get to drink from the new C beer because, hey, it's out there if you want it or not. You're probably going to get it at some point. All right, now there's 3 ways with a couple of subcategories of how exactly this probably happened. All right. You have the purposeful release. Now, if it's not spelled right, I have dyslexia and I really don't care. So, leave your comments below, whatever. All right, now, there's really 2 ways that could happen. One, it's intentionally done, at the behest of the host government, which is in charge of the brewery. Okay, or you had a terror a-hole decide, hey, screw it, I'm going to dump it in the ditch or do something else or release some animals and see what happens and let nature take its course. Okay, that's a huge dick move. I should probably make a new video about that, for the real monumental dick moves, but that's another video. Next, we have improper storage and disposal. Somebody didn't follow protocol, and things went down the drain, and there you go. All right. Next, you have accidental or dumbassery. All right. Listen, I don't care how good you can make a vaccine. I don't care if you can whip up the best cures on the planet. You're not going to vaccinate for stupidity, and you sure as shit, there is no cure for dumb. So when you throw that into the equation with super sensitive things with a high bomb out rate and, are very popular, and then you mix that with stupidity, well, things can happen. All right, now, typical government response. All right, now our government doesn't too. They all do it to a certain degree. All right, we're getting a lot of tactical vagueness. All right, which is followed directly by strategic unawareness. All right, now they're also doing the blame game and the shift attention game. All right, now they're saying that, this particular beer is, not as particularly popular or cause a bomb out rate to another popular beer that's floating around out there, that comes from a, different type of animal. But, what are you going to do? All right, now, if this is actually true and it happened, even if it's not true and it happened, we have to ask ourselves, a couple of questions. Maybe we got lucky this time and they decided to put the Hippel-Hiv hops into a beer that's really not that, popular, and maybe it has a low bomb out rate and it'll, its popularity will burn out with time. Maybe that's the case. But if it's not, we got a bumpy ride ahead of us. Second question. If you can take the hops from the Hippel-Hiv and you could put it on, I don't know, another alcoholic drink that isn't on this list that gets you a hell of a lot more bombed, that's bad. That is real bad. Wow. All right. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this little briefing here. I'm trying not to use a lot of profanity. I think I had a few slip out. But it is what it is. And hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'm going to probably, be doing a lot of board stuff in the future. And I will get a better camera sooner or later once I get the funds. But, right now donations are a little on the light side. All right, that's it for me. Time for me to go drink some beer.